Microsoft just announced a major Xbox OS update, and they didn't even put it in the changelog. Nothing more exciting than a major OS update coming to Xbox, especially when they don't even put it in the changelog. Now, this is very much a behind the scenes, behind the covers, digging down into the trenches, but there's some serious ramifications here on the positive side for Xbox users about a change that Microsoft really just quietly announced. Now, Microsoft has for a while been doing something with Windows, its OS, to make it more compartmentalized, meaning that they can update certain features without having to do the whole rebuild the OS and make you sit through those big updates. They can do them in much smaller bite-sized chunks thanks to making things more compartmentalized. It's been a really good process. Now, Microsoft is going to be bringing that feature to Xbox, and they announced it tonight. They actually announced it with the Omega update coming to the insiders. Now, if you are a Microsoft Xbox insider and you are an Omega user, you might be getting this feature or you might not. It's only coming to a small subset, meaning these are very early days of testing this feature. But considering that the Xbox ecosystem is a locked platform, meaning that there's only so many variations of the Xbox console, this should roll out relatively quickly once they are secure or happy with the process. Because unlike on the Windows side, where there's probably tens of millions, if not even more iterations of computers out in the world, there's just a handful of Xbox consoles. Yes, Microsoft does make a few changes here and there, but they make the software, they make the hardware, and they own the entire stack, which makes delivering something like this easier. Now, in the changelog, which for Omega users, not really much has listed. Quite literally, they announced that they know that there is a known issue with the controller disconnect. Actually, that was pretty big deal in some of the forums for people having issues with the Series X and S controllers disconnecting. There's some audio mixers not working in the guide, and there's some profile colors not sticking, and then they say, hey, there's some features that are going to just start coming up. Now, you jump over to Brad Rossetti's Twitter account, and he said this: a subset of Omega users will get a new build at 6 p.m. today meaning Friday, that will update some settings. We are flighting a new build process in which we can flight new system experiences like shell settings guide without a full system build, aka platform fixes. And then he goes, Agile, because that is the method that Microsoft is moving towards, is that they're going to be able to change the update process to deliver features faster and in smaller bite-sized chunks. Now, you might be thinking, well, we get updates roughly on a monthly basis or somewhere around there. It doesn't feel like, the updates are too far in between, but Microsoft quite literally could move to a weekly model if they just need to update features. But more specifically, what this is going to be good for is that if they find out a feature is ready, it's tested, it's vetted, it's ready to go out the door, they don't have to wait for an entire build to be done. That is crucial, because then they can just ship that update, which means your Xbox dashboard is about to get better at a much faster rate. This is pretty cool stuff. This kind of feels similar to maybe the work that Microsoft is doing with their feature packs on the desktop, where they can just ship compartmentalized feature updates without touching the underlying OS. This feels very similar. Now, you might be thinking, well, Xbox is just a Windows PC. Yes, it is in some capacity. I hesitate to say it fully is. There is a lot of overlap, especially like in the hardware, right? It's x86, it has RAM, it has a hard drive. There's nothing too crazy in there. But at the same time, it's very customized. It's explicitly tailored to run the Xbox OS and OS games at the highest level of performance. It's omitting a lot of stuff too that you might find on a PC, which is why you can't just plug in a USB drive that has Windows 10 on it and boot it. That is just not going to work. So what is this going to mean for the long term? Well, realistically right now, Microsoft is going to be testing this with a really small group, the Omega users, and we will be paying attention to this, at least I will specifically, to see how quickly they start expanding that out, and hopefully that new flighting system will land on everybody's consoles here in the near future, which then, like I said, probably 5 times now, we're just getting faster and faster and faster updates. So, pretty cool stuff. I'm curious why they didn't announce this in the changelog. Maybe potentially because not everybody's getting it, and that's why. But I don't think announcing something like that on Twitter is the best way to do it either, especially if there's issues. That being said, this is a pretty cool update, and it just kind of shows how Microsoft is, I don't want to say reinventing the wheel with Xbox, because they've been shipping updates for Xbox 360, Xbox One. Like, this isn't, their first rodeo, but it just means that they're not content with complacency. They are actively updating ways so that they can deliver features faster and iterate even faster than the updates are going to be arriving now, I guess, with their OS. It just shows that Microsoft isn't just shipping things. November came, they kick it out the door, and then the dashboard is here. So Xbox being a closed ecosystem, not everybody loves it because they would love for third-party Xboxes. Actually, there was rumors at one point that Microsoft was going to open this up. This is many, many, many years ago, but very clearly they did not go down that path. But the benefit of being a closed ecosystem is that Microsoft can, do what they please. And let's be honest, there's definitely some issues that need to be addressing. I would imagine actually Quick Resume is probably like deep down in the system things. But if there's visual artifacts, or if they want to make the UI more consistent, we should expect to see those updates coming faster. The one other really big benefit too from shipping more updates more frequently is that the size of the downloads hopefully aren't going to be massive, right? If you're shipping only minor component updates, then you don't need the whole build, and you don't need the whole OS. It means you're saving on bandwidth, and the updates will quite literally get to your box even faster. But there's also benefits too on the backside. If Microsoft isn't shipping all that stuff out, bandwidth isn't free, right? Microsoft has an extensive content delivery network, and they have to pay to keep that up there. And there is a finite number of bits that can quite literally go through there. And so if they can make their updates smaller, then at the end of the day, it's easier on their update infrastructure. It's easier on your console. So this is just something to be keeping an eye on. I get really jazzed up about these kinds of things because, wow, this isn't the latest update for Gears, or they did finally nerf the DMR and things are getting better in Call of Duty or Warzone, and it's not something you can go out and physically touch or play every day. This is something that is in the background, kind of like getting a faster SSD, kind of like having Quick Resume when it works, and all those other features. That's just going to make your life just a little bit better. And that is, it's exciting to see Microsoft do this kind of stuff, especially because it's so early in the year, which means very clearly by the, I would say hopefully by even the end of the quarter, we'll be seeing this on everybody's device. So there you go, guys. That's the big update that Microsoft, and I'm curious, does anybody out there really have issues with sizable updates? I have pretty fast internet here. I would assume, though, that people with limited bandwidth are going to find a great amount of joy in this, potentially. I don't know. Big updates are always a thing. Typically, though, when I think of a big update, I'm thinking of like Call of Duty updates where they're like 50, 60 gigs, and just trying to deal with that kind of stuff. So anyways, guys, if you're an Omega user, go out and start looking for this to see if you are one of the lucky few who got in. Like I said, it is a small subset of the people who are in the program are going to get it. It's not everybody, which is somewhat of a Debbie Downer, if you will. But at the same time, Microsoft is going to be extremely cautious to make sure a new flighting system, because these are big. This isn't something somebody whipped up in a weekend. This is a pretty big overhaul to the infrastructure that is delivering the update to your machine. And so with that, guys, if you want to keep it up to date on the latest, which is why you're here anyways, hit that subscribe button because it really helps me out, and I'll catch all of you right back here next time Microsoft decides to drop a flighting system at 8:30 p.m. on Friday.